I do remember very vividly my first meeting with him. I was traveling on the East Coast trying to meet different scholars, and I had the opportunity to go to Swami Dayanand Saraswati's Arsha Vidya Gurukulam ashram in Pennsylvania. It must be either 2004 or 2005. And Rajivji was giving a talk there, and that was my very first opportunity to listen to him. I had heard a little bit about him by then, but never had a chance to meet him. And that really touched me and captured my imagination in terms of clarity of his thought and marvelous articulation of issues. So soon after the talk is over, I met him and I requested him that I am on the East Coast for a few more days or almost for a week, and I would very much like to have an opportunity to come and spend some time with him. So he readily agreed and he invited me to his home in Princeton. So it was a weekend, that also I very clearly remember. And almost 2 days I was at his home, and a whole range of issues we were able to talk. That was a very memorable weekend, I would say. And that was the beginning of our interactions and different occasions of meeting, and sometime traveling together, and sometime participating in some spiritual camps together. All those things happened subsequently, but I think the first meeting was in Swami Dayanandji's ashram, and the indelible impression it left on my mind that then initiated this long journey of a very fruitful nature. In my own intellectual journey, there have been many very influential voices or inputs that inspired and shaped me. But still, I will say that in terms of a very profound and very important influence, Rajivji definitely holds. And I always very eagerly look forward for any new book that comes out. And as soon as I hear about it, I can't wait till I get to buy and read the book. And many times, just cover to cover, in a matter of a couple days, I will finish the whole book, or at least maybe in 3-4 days. I cannot put it down. Maybe sometimes I recall that 14-15 hours also within a single day, I have just so consuming and preoccupying and uplifting. So it always has been a tremendous intellectual stimulus. And the Dharma Civilization Foundation that got started with a group of a few other colleagues and friends in Los Angeles around beginning of 2012, I would say one of the inspiration was definitely what Rajivji's ideas have shaped my thinking. And it had a very particular focus about how to promote the spirit of academic philanthropy in the Hindu society, so that they not only donate for building temples of worship or the seva projects, but also for building temples of learning or temples of knowledge, or creating such infrastructure for academic infrastructure through which we can move towards building institutions of higher learning. So visiting professorship or hoping to create some endowed chairs, funding scholars, book grants, and scholars conferences. Like that, a variety of initiatives were taken up. And I would say one of the seed inspiration of all such effort, I had no hesitancy in attributing to a lot of intellectual input I got from Rajivji. Recently, I don't recall whether I was at Indus University or one of the universities where somebody is preparing a syllabus on major intellectual influencer in the last 200 years. And he started with a person like Swami Dayanand Saraswati, Bharagangadhar Tilak, Vivekananda, Aravindo, and he finally said he had brought, he mentioned several other names, but the last name was Rajiv Malhotra. And he said that I cannot complete this tradition of a significant major intellectual input without including the contribution that we have received from Rajiv Malhotra. I'm very happy to hear that. And maybe silently always I felt that, but here somebody who's designing a course on this particular domain, formally acknowledging and including all the contribution of Rajivji in that same tradition was very wonderful to hear that. Is the two books that really much more deeply captured my imagination, although every book has its own unique place. I would say The Snakes in the Ganga, and maybe it is much more focused upon the US context and what type of mischief goes on in institutions like Harvard, and what are its implications and what may need to be done more urgently in the present context. From that point of view, that there is one book I would say. And then the second book would be the AI and the Battle for Power. That book also, in fact, any significant expert in the domain of AI or technology who has the civilizational investment and interest, I would, I cannot stop but bringing up this topic and how there's a need for building up a large pool of technology experts who can much more seriously look into these issues and see how the Indian civilizational interests are safeguarded and how technology can also be utilized for enhancing the Hindu civilizational work. So those two books, I will say, are have especially the deepest appeal, intellectually speaking, to my mind. I know that there is a whole generation of people in the age group of 25 to 50 who very fondly quote their source of inspiration as Rajivji's books. Much younger people, to what degree they're interested in reading such type of material is unclear to me, and how ultimately to penetrate that population and be able to engage them. And I do not have sufficient experience with it, and so I may not be able to give any meaningful comment on that particular topic. But anybody who has a beginning of some interest in Indic civilization issues, they cannot but help to quote or to refer to that one of the major influence in their own journey has been Rajivji's books. I think in the last 25 to 30 years, I mean, there have been people like Balagangadhar, there have been many others also who have made their own contribution. But in terms of a sustained contribution over a long period of time, covering so many dimensions, so many aspects, Rajivji stands out quite uniquely. And I'm very grateful that I could come in contact with him, and it so much enriched my own learning and understanding about very important aspects of this whole Mahabharata, or this whole Kurukshetra, as he many times very aptly describes it to be. And there are many warriors and Kshatriyas who owe their source of inspiration to Rajivji. And I'm very happy that personally I could also get to know him more intimately, and had dozens of opportunities to have conversation and interact. And whenever on the phone also, if I needed some input, he has always been very prompt in responding to my request. So I'm just deeply grateful to him. That's all I would like to say. He also had a dog, and I remember that when he was very ill, the caring with which, because I was actually visiting him that time, and it really touched me. And I mean, he, many times people who are very intellectually gifted are not necessarily always that sensitive about animals. But the profound caring, like the way you will care about your elderly parents, almost with a similar affection and unambiguous commitment. So it really, but it really touched me.